Slacker meets the Invisible Man. After last week's surprise audit of employee absenteeism rates revealed that I, Slacker, may have unknowingly exceeded the limits of our company's generous and liberal time-off policies, I want to make every effort to put to rest any trust issues management may be harboring about me. However, due to an incredibly unforeseen circumstance, I will be out of the office again this Friday. The following explanation is sufficient to dispel growing doubts concerning my dedication and commitment to maintaining a performance standard any employee would be proud of. It all started yesterday afternoon with a call from my best bud, Slick. He didn't sound like himself. Right away, he's telling me he'd been reviewing his life and came to the conclusion that he might have a drinking problem. He said he's been hearing voices and seeing things lately and needs a friend to talk to. Being my best bud, I wanted to be there for him. So I told him we could meet for cocktails at our favorite spot on the Upper West Side of Manhattan in an hour. After grabbing my cell phone and some bum bucks for the beggars on the way, I was in the fastest cab I could hail and was headed uptown in a flash. Upon arrival, I noticed Slick was sitting at the bar, staring into a cup of black coffee. Okay, this is all wrong. I told Lumpy Louie, the bartender, to set up a few shots, turn my cell phone off so we wouldn't be interrupted, and attempted to sit on the bar stool beside him. No, he whispers. You can't sit there. I know you can't see him, but that seat is taken. Yeah, you read my mind, because the only thing on it was WTF? Slick looked as though he hadn't slept in days. He didn't look steady and his eyes were bloodshot. In a word, Slick looked crazy. I'd never seen him like this before. Whatever you do, don't bother this guy. He's dangerous, Slick says. He's been following me around everywhere I go, and I can't seem to lose him. Thinking this is all a joke, I offered to buy the Invisible Man a drink. And that's when I was convinced I was crazy too, because I heard somebody say, I'll take 3 fingers of whiskey and none of that cheap shit. I squeezed my eyes tightly and opened them with the expectation of a logical explanation being in front of me, but no such luck. Lumpy Louie busily filled the request without paying too much attention, and, doing so, failed to notice the glass rise from the bar and empty itself into thin air. I was paying close attention, and I did notice this was no joke. The Invisible Man told me to sit down and SDF you. So I did. He told me to order another 3 fingers of whiskey. So I did. He said if I didn't keep buying him free drinks, he'd make my life a living hell. I stupidly asked, how so? This was a most unfortunate question because at that very moment, Floozy Susie sauntered by. The Invisible Man grabbed her ass, whispered some lewd and lascivious Trump-like remarks to her, and before I could duck, Floozy had slapped the shit out of me. I told Lumpy Louie to start a tab. Like it or not, this evening was on me. It was then I heard him say, I think we're gonna be pals for a while. And by the way, it was then that I noticed Slick had slipped out of the bar. As the Invisible Man kept tossing back glass after glass of straight whiskey, I realized he was developing a bit of a slur. And although I'd had a few too, I wasn't nearly as wasted as he'd apparently gotten himself. I saw my opportunity. I told the Invisible Man as politely as I could manage that I'd be calling it an evening because I had to be at work early in the morning. Surprisingly, the Invisible Man seemed cool with this reasonable excuse until he insisted on sharing a cab with me. I knew I was in trouble because the last thing I needed was the Invisible Man knowing where I lived. But even that trouble was nothing compared to how he planned to top off the night. The Invisible Man decided to carjack a cab for laughs. As soon as we left the bar, the Invisible Man spotted a lone car for hire parked across the street. Its out-of-service light lit. The driver at the cab stand was stunned when his car door flew open, and he was flung through a plate glass window of a deli like a rag doll by something he couldn't see. The Invisible Man demanded I get in. So I did. Slick was right. This guy was dangerous. When the Invisible Man hit the accelerator, he never let up, reaching speeds of 100 miles per hour or more. He must have run every red light, driven on every sidewalk, and hit countless innocent pedestrians all over Manhattan before the police took notice and gave chase. Yes, I was in a cab being driven madly by an invisible, intoxicated man, with the cops in hot pursuit. Unfortunately, just as I was beginning to think things couldn't possibly get any worse, the Invisible Man slammed on the brakes, causing a 6-car pileup on Riverside Drive. With 2 tires blown, the rear bumper rammed into the back seat, the engine overheating and billowing smoke filling the cab, I could see the faint silhouette of a huge, powerful figure at the wheel of the vehicle after it rolled to a slow stop. He quickly wrapped some rags around his face. He'd found on the floor of the cab, put some weird goggle-type specs on, and really did look like the character in the movies. The Invisible Man then kicked the door open, said, "See wise sucker," and ran off into the night. It was only seconds after he disappeared into the shadows of Riverside Park that the cops surrounded the heap of wreckage with guns drawn and really pissed off looks on their faces. I tried calling Slick, but he wasn't answering. Since I'm certain a story like this will require a witness to verify it, I assure you my lawyer is doing everything possible to locate the stunned cabbie at the cab stand. I should return to work on Monday morning. Until then, I can only express my gratitude for your continued trust and unwavering confidence. Sincerely, Slacker.